quick side note, all information from the speech, unless otherwise stated, comes from J.B. Field's Kepler's Geometrical Cosmology. On July 12, 2022, NASA unveiled one of the sharpest images of the distant galaxies. This magnificent photo covered the area of a grain of sand if you held it up to the night sky. And this minuscule fraction of the sky revealed thousands of galaxies billions of light years away. Other images produced by the telescope captured the formation of stars, a planetary nebula, and a grouping of 5 galaxies. They even captured a striking image of a star of death, also known as the Death Star. I'm just joking with you guys, obviously, because the rebels blew it up years ago. But it's easy to look at these pictures and see space as a beautiful but unorganized mess of colorful space rocks. However, I'd like to show you how our Creator has designed a pattern in our universe that echoes the harmony of this world. Today, let's go on a journey as we travel back into the minds of ancient thinkers like Plato and Kepler. We'll discover a geometric pattern that exists in our solar system and how this harmony gives us a glimpse into the mind of our Creator. To begin, let me introduce you to a group of shapes called the Platonic solids. If you go back to your geometry days, you might recall something known as a regular polygon, a two-dimensional shape with equal sides and equal angles. For example, this triangle has 3 equal sides and 3 equal angles. A square is the same except with 4, an octagon with 8, a dodecagon with 12, a heptagon with 100, or even a megagon with 1,000,000 sides. In a 2D perspective, we can have an infinite amount of regular polygons. But once we enter the 3rd dimension, there were only 5 regular polyhedra, and these are called the Platonic solids, named after the ancient philosopher Plato. According to Britannica, the Platonic solids are a group of 3-dimensional shapes whose faces are all identical regular polygons while having identical angles. Plato discovered that there can only be 5 solids mathematically possible that can fit this criteria. The first Platonic solid is a tetrahedron, consisting of 4 identical faces and 4 identical angles. Next is a cube with 6 faces, an octahedron with 8, a dodecahedron with 12, and finally an icosahedron with 20 faces. Because there were only 5, Plato believed that they were special and theorized that they represented our universe. Yet the tetrahedron represent fire, the cube with earth, the dodecahedron, the octahedron with air, the dodecahedron with 12 sides representing the 12 constellations, and the icosahedron with water. This neat theory wasn't actually backed up by scientific data. However, the concept that these 5 special shapes can somehow represent our universe paved the way hundreds of years later for an incredible discovery by the astronomer Johannes Kepler. To understand Kepler's discovery, we must learn about the orbital spheres through the ins and outs of shapes. In 2 dimensions, every regular polygon can have an incircle, touching each face on the inside, and a circumcircle, touching each point on the outside. However, in 3 dimensions, it's the same concept, except with spheres. For every Platonic solid, you can have an insphere, touching each face on the inside of a polyhedron, and a circumsphere, touching each point on the outside, just like a circumcircle. Now, we also need to understand Kepler's perspective during that time period. So let's pause right here and flash forward 19 centuries from Plato to Johannes Kepler. First, Kepler at the time had embraced the new model of the solar system, introduced by Nicholas Copernicus, who, by the way, oddly resembles Lord Farquaad from Shrek. The Copernican model proposed heliocentrism, the idea that all the planets revolved around the sun, in contrast with the common belief of geocentrism, the idea that the planets and the sun revolved around the Earth. But secondly, in the 21st century, we know that there are 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And we know this through the mnemonic, "My very excellent mother just served us noodles." But in the late 16th century, before the discovery of Uranus and Neptune, the Copernican model only had 6 planets. So you can remember this through the mnemonic, "My very educated, majestic judge should please rank my speech high." But Kepler, before fully embracing the Copernican model, as a devout Christian, wondered, why are the planets' orbits spaced the way they are? Is it random or God's intellectual design? His incredible discovery began on July 19th, 1595, when he was teaching a class about the orbits of the planets. he suddenly realized that the incircle and circumcircle of a triangle matched the orbits of Jupiter and Saturn. Then he tried using other 2D polygons for the orbits of the rest of the planets, but they didn't seem to match. And then it struck him. Why work with 2D polygons when the orbits are in 3 dimensions? But what 3-dimensional polyhedra could he use? Knowing that he needed 5 shapes in between the 6 planets, he went to the 5 platonic solids. And from this, he found the most groundbreaking discovery. Mysterium Cosmographicum, or the Cosmic Mystery, was a book in which Kepler presented his theory that our solar system was structured by the platonic solids. Through his mathematical findings, he showed that each platonic solid has a specific ratio between the radius of its insphere and the radius of its circumsphere. From his observational data of the sky, he found a specific ratio between the radius of a planet's orbit and the radius of the next planet's orbit. And from this, he found the most astonishing comparison. The ratios of each 5 platonic solids match one ratio between 2 planetary orbits with a 96.4%. For example, the ratio between an insphere and a circumsphere of a dodecahedron is 795 to 1,000. An almost perfect match between the ratio of Earth's and Mars's orbit at 801 to 1,000. Now, so what does this exactly mean? To show everything in 3D would be a little confusing, but to simplify it, from a 2D perspective, above the 3D model, it would look something like this. If you start with a sphere, and you wrap an octahedron around it and circumscribe a sphere around that, then place it all in an icosahedron and circumscribe a sphere around it, place it all in the side of a dodecahedron, circumscribe it with another sphere, then place the entire thing inside of a tetrahedron, circumscribe it again, and then finally place the entire thing inside of a cube and circumscribing it with another sphere. From each 6 spheres, you would have the 6 orbits in our very own solar system. Using this harmonious geometric design, Kepler points to our intelligent creator, saying, quote, "We find therefore under this orderly arrangement a wonderful symmetry in our universe and a definite relation of harmony that is not possible to attain in any other way." Kepler shows us that this wonderful harmony cannot be a result of a coincidence, but that proves that God is an intelligent creator. Now, I'm guessing you've never heard of this revolutionary discovery before, and it's because because many scientists deem it as a failure due to a couple of unanswered questions. First, what about the other 2 planets, Uranus and Neptune? And unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to fit them into the picture yet. But another issue is that his model doesn't perfectly fit modern data of the orbit sizes. So the big question is, how can we point this to God if it isn't perfectly accurate? At the end of the day, I can't say God 100% exists because of this model alone. But I'm sharing it because I believe there is still value to his work. Kepler argued that our universe was not a random arrangement of objects, but our creator has hidden a geometrical harmony throughout space. And though scientists may disregard it because it's not 100% perfect, the fact that a path of a planet 1,000 times bigger than Earth and millions of miles away can almost perfectly be predicted by the only 5 platonic solids gives us a glimpse to God's intellectual design. Overall, I believe Kepler's model deserves to be known again, because I think it isn't a coincidence that we find this harmony in our solar system. And though it has its drawbacks, it hints at the beautiful geometrical archetype of our creator. So, the next time you go out into the night, and you look up at the millions of shining stars scattered throughout the sky, hopefully you can remember that our magnificent universe is not a result of a random coincidence. But hopefully you can agree with Kepler when he says geometry is one and eternal shining in the mind of God. But if you don't go outside too much, maybe the next time you watch Shrek, you can remember Lord Farquaad kind of looks like Nicholas Copernicus, who set the foundation for Johannes Kepler's beautiful model that points to a harmonious God. Thanks so much.